What's up, everyone? It's Books&Looks TV. Today, I would like to discuss the topic of race, gender, and class. I think a lot of people like to think that class provides you some level of protection, but I think oftentimes when Black girlhood and Black womanhood is involved, a lot of the women still face the same atrocities that the average Black girl and or woman would face, whether it be absent and neglectful parent, insecurities, etc. So I would like to acknowledge what one of my subscribers mentioned when I mentioned the topic, that Black girls and Black women that are rich often have like a level of cushion to fall back on, but they still face a lot of the things that we do. And so in this video essay, I'm going to talk about a lot of rich Black girls and or women who had like a father present but still weren't really protected by their fathers. And I think this is important to talk about because oftentimes we talk about in the Black community how like a father being involved in your child's life can issue you some level of protection, and a lot of people encourage it, yet these men were present but they kind of were absent. But like they often mention how like their finances or the idea of their finances made them justifiable for how they raised their daughters, and or failed to protect them, or just gave them like unrealistic standards into like femininity or their own like identity. So I want to put a big emphasis on Black fathers, and particularly how they protected and or failed to protect their daughters despite their social class. So the first person I'll be talking about in this video is Willow Smith. Willow Smith is probably one of the most free Black children that I have witnessed, and I guess you could say she's the epitome of what it would mean to be a rich Black child. Since she was like a young child, she came on the screen like with this live, vibrant personality, and it seemed like she was really confident from having like two wealthy parents, Jada Pinkett Smith and Will Smith. However, her being a young child celebrity shows that it wasn't all true, especially when she presented it on the Red Table Talk. She admits that when she was younger, she felt pressured to be a child star, even though when she wasn't really interested anymore. Her and Will Smith go on the show and talk about like how Willow came to him and said she didn't want to be a child star, and he said, well, you made this promise to Mr. Jay-Z, and she said, no, daddy, you did. So that goes to show that sometimes her father or just parents in general, but I'm just gonna say a father because Will Smith, he was the one who seemed to be pressuring her. Sometimes they have good ideas for how you should live your life, but you should never put that much pressure on a child. And when she says she's ready to let go, you should, try to let go. You can't be signing contracts like that for no little 8-year-old and expect for them to commit to something and they still trying to find out who they are. But anyway, there comes a time as Willow gets older, you start to see her developing more into her personality. She adapts to elements like rock and or like just being an emo child. And there's this like scene where she's on stage performing and she's shaving her hair, and one would think, is she shaving it because like she's rebelling against her being in the industry or just this idea of femininity in general? But one thing I respected is that she was honest with her parents despite her age, and she also became into her own sense of self. Next I'm going to talk about Nellys Daughter. So Nelly had this show called Nellyville, and on the show he talks about raising his children and his sister's children who passed away. For those who didn't know, Nelly's sister passed away from like a terminal illness, and he became pretty much a caregiver for her daughter and son. You see him bringing them to his rich mansion from St. Louis. And what was interesting to me on the show though was that there was this high emphasis on the girls' virginity and how they were pressured to like not date guys and to remain virgins. And they pretty much said it on the show. Like his daughter, she went to university in Chicago, and she seemed to be more like extroverted, wanting to dance and sing, but her father would always remind her of like how the industry was and just like seemed to hinder her options to dating. And so again, those girls, just even like his niece Stink would talk about how strict her father was and how they had to be virgins. And I just think it's really ironic because the position that Nelly kind of put his sister in, like for example, the Black women at Spelman protested his fundraiser towards his sister's terminal illness because they felt like he was misrepresenting Black women and they didn't want to support him. That ended up hurting her in a sense because she couldn't get the donor she needed. But also it kind of just shows how he didn't have any regards to like the image of Black women. Yet again, when it came to his own children, he had like this guard of like, oh, y'all can't date guys and y'all can't do this and do that, whoop de whoop de whoop. And so again, I just thought it was crazy that they had to like publicly discuss, you know, their whether they were sexually active or inactive. But again, when it comes to the image of a hip hop star and his daughters, they don't want their daughters to get played. Not saying that women deserve that, but again, there's like this consciousness of, oh, I'm doing this and my boys are doing this, and you know, I gotta protect my daughters. They can't go anywhere, and it's kind of crazy. So next I'll talk about the O'Neal sisters. So the O'Neal sisters are the daughters of Shaquille O'Neal. So Shaquille O'Neal has like 2 daughters by his ex-wife Shawnee, and he also has like a daughter from an outside marriage, and he seems to be like really protective over the girls. He recently said, like, I believe in a radio show, that his daughters could always stay at his home, but his sons had to leave. And a lot of men were in uproar about it. I thought, in a sense, he was trying to be protective towards them. He kind of admitted that he put them all in positions to do well. And his girls, they seem to be like interested in like college basketball. And one of his daughters actually graduated with like a business degree. And he told her that she would like run his business. And so, again, there seems to be like this sense of security more so still around his daughters. Not saying he doesn't care for his sons or want to help them. He did acknowledge that his daughters could always like live with him. And to me, that seems like not in general, but I'm also wondering if there's like this like sense of protection, because Shaquille O'Neal has been known to have many girlfriends and to be a player. And again, a lot of men who engage in that type of lifestyle, they often worry about their daughters being played as well. So next up, I'd like to discuss Yaya Mayweather. Yaya Mayweather is like one of the most privileged children on this list. Her father is like the most paid pro boxer, and Yaya Mayweather was allowed to go to like the best schools and pretty much could do whatever she wanted with her life because her father did fork over the money, whether it was to her or her mother. Yaya Mayweather managed to end up with NBA Youngboy, who's this like very traumatized rapper and who has numerous baby mamas, and you just wonder, how the hell did she end up with him, and how the hell did she end up becoming a baby mom? But there seems to be like this void and a bunch of mess with her parents and family dynamic, and Yaya Mayweather ends up with NBA Youngboy. She ends up catching a case because of her quote-unquote infatuation with him, and it's just really bad. So she ends up going on live because of NBA Youngboy after stabbing his baby mama, and again, it's just like, girl, how did you get up in this situation? And again, her father, Floyd Mayweather, is known to be a womanizer and, you know, just a player, whatever. And it's just like, where were you in your child's life? Why? Not saying that women don't choose who they want to be with, but you would think like an upstanding father would have left some type of impression on her to choose a better partner. And so next I am going to discuss Deja Harris. So Deja Harris is the daughter of T.I. Deja Harris appeared on reality TV show as like this quiet, kind of like eccentric black girl. And again, she really didn't have a choice to be on celebrity television, at least to my knowledge, because her father was trying to present this perfect image of fatherhood after he went to prison. And so he brings all these kids and his wife on TV to make it seem like he's the hip hop Bill Cosby. And so anyway, recently, maybe a year or two ago, T.I. Harris goes on radio show and talks about how he goes to his daughter's like annual OBGYN visits and makes sure that her hymen is still in check. This upset a lot of people because it seemed like an invasion of privacy. And it was like, why are you concerned about whether she's a virgin or not? Why aren't you just concerned about her just having a healthy life and just paying for her doctor visit? You know, give her the game, you know, let her, you know, enroll in some type of sex education, but why are you so concerned about her purity? And it's because T.I. has been known to, you know, have these extramarital affairs and to just be very misogynistic. And so it wasn't that surprising that he did that, but what was more hurtful was the image it had on his daughter. She pretty much ghosted social media for a long time and ended up crying on national television about what her father did to her. She felt like it exposed her to predators, and you know, she was going off to college, and I just think it wasn't something she wanted known. Meanwhile, on the show, it seemed like that she was like afraid to confront her father about it because he seemed to have so much control over her, whether it was mentally or financially, and it was just a sad thing to witness. And so speaking of that, I'm going to go into next I'm going to talk about Reginae Carter. So Reginae Carter is the daughter of Lil Wayne. And what I'm going to talk about with her specifically is her relationship, her probably first public relationship with a rapper who was 8 years older than her. His name, I believe, was YFN Lucci or YNF Lucci, honey. I can't keep with all these rappers' names. But basically, he was 8 years older than her. And a lot of people saw that as problematic. He also publicly like disrespected her, whether it was cheating on her or just doing some crazy stuff. And Reginae, her mothers would often tell her, like this isn't the type of person you should entertain. He seems controlling. But Reginae would like say she liked the type of behavior. She actually said that on a reality show. And so it just makes me think of she probably witnessed her mother entertaining mess like that, whether it be her father or some type of man. So again, that absence of a rich father being there emotionally still has impact on the child. A lot of people seem to think that money can just heal everything. It doesn't. So eventually, Reginae did manage to leave their relationship, especially when he went off to prison. It was just a sad thing to witness. And so last but not least, I'm going to talk about double standards. So a lot of you probably know that when it comes to King Harris, who is the son of T.I., the brother of Deja Harris, that he gets away with a lot. He tries to pretty much be like this thug, which is weird because he doesn't have to be. Again, he had privileged parents and entertainment industry, but he goes to shit on poor black people a lot, whether it be Waffle House employees, people at a park. He'll pull a gun out, and his father pretty much makes excuses for him. I remember seeing on The Family Hustle when he was very young, asking what type of race of woman he could entertain, and his father told him he could get any woman. And I also remember people speaking on how he lost his virginity at a very young age, and it was kind of encouraged. And also on the reality show, when Deja Harris was talking about how embarrassed she was, she admitted that T.I. didn't have the same energy for what the boys did, and how King in particular seemed to run them up. And so another double standard I'll talk about is in Nellyville. So I'm not gonna lie, one of the sons, he seemed to be like just a focused kid, kind of nerdy into sports, but his nephew was very hypersexualized and like the party type, the player type, and Nelly never checked him for it. But again,
I could never wait for her man, I could never trick up on these, I could never,
he would always keep tabs on his daughters. And I thought that was problematic because just like they could get pregnant, he could get somebody else pregnant and ruin their lives if you want to think about it like that. But again, a lot of these fathers in this list, they did a lot of things that were questionable, especially on how they treated women, black women, non-black women. And again, I feel like they projected this to their daughters. And so in a sense of things, when it comes to who the daughters trust, date, how they're exposed, how they are pushed into like contracts at a very young age with their father's control, it just shows to me that rich black girls are not really protected. And even though you would think they were, like if they're not and they have all this like status and systems around them, what does that mean about like the average black girl or black woman? So I just want to address this. Maybe I'm reaching, maybe I'm not, but whatever you think, let me know below in the comments. And thank you so much for listening to Books and Looks TV. I'll see you guys next time.